everybody. My name is Dr. Kathy Marks-Kirpan. I'm a former teacher and I currently teach graduate courses in math education at the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education at the University of Toronto. And I thought, since I'm here under self-isolation due to the coronavirus, and I wish everybody safety and health at this time, I just thought I'd do a video and just reach out to people and share some ideas. I have never done this before. It's very low tech, my friends, very low tech. This is sort of the credits coming across and the title coming across. Teaching Tidbits for Math with Dr. Kathy Marks-Kirpan. Now, this is very low tech. I know some of my colleagues are very good at high-tech videos and the names come across and there's music and things fade in and fade out. If you want that, just close your eyes and pretend it happened, because it ain't happening here, my friends. But I'm hoping that I'll be able to share some teaching tidbits, some teaching ideas to consider for when you're teaching mathematics. So today, this video, I want to talk about a collaborative learning structure called a placemat or window frame. And I'm just going to talk about what it is. Some of you are maybe very familiar with this, and I'm aware that some of you may have never seen this before. So I'm just going to talk about how we can use this in mathematics and some teaching ideas that might help you with the implementation. So you create this structure on chart paper with 4 different sections and a middle section here. And you provide a task for students, so it could be something like, what is the difference between a triangle and a square? Like, what are all the differences? So in each section is for each student to write or draw or sketch and put down their thinking. So I would write my name here and do my work here. The other people in my group would do their work in their sections as well. And then at the end of all this, after you've worked as a group individually first, writing down your thoughts and ideas, then you come together and each person shares what they have written and their thoughts and their thinking. And then as a group, you collaboratively think about what you're going to put in the middle, which is the place for the final answer or final solution. So this remains blank, and this is where the students end up writing. This is a great idea in terms of building an accountability. So often we have students collaborate in mathematics and we get the final answer on chart paper, but we don't always know who's contributed what. So this allows us to see that. It also allows students to sort of get their thinking going, thinking about some ideas before they share with their classmates, which is what I like that, because I sometimes think that we rush through things, get it down and share, and that's it. We don't allow a bit of time for students to think and sort of reflect on things before they share their ideas. So that is sort of how this works. So, for example, like I said, the task might be, what is the difference between a triangle and a square? Everybody works in their own spaces. The challenge sometimes can be how do we navigate what goes and negotiates what goes in the middle? Because as teachers, we need to make sure that all voices are heard and valued. So some strategies, I'll just share some of the ones, and you can think about how you might implement this. Some is, you allow the students to negotiate this, where they might think, oh, I really like this idea. I really like your idea. Let's put this in the middle. But if it does go in the middle, all the students in the group need to understand what's going in the middle and understand the solution that's being put there. You can also do it where each student shares one idea, contributes one idea, one difference between a triangle and a square, and put that in the middle. Or as a group, they just share their ideas and mix them all up and come up with a collaborative solution that might go in the middle. So there's a variety of ways in which that can be negotiated. Some of the things that I want to talk about are some of the modifications to this, because I think, if you're a learner who struggles and you're sitting here trying to figure this out, this can be one of the challenges of this kind of structure. The others are scribbling, writing away, and you're sitting there and you're not knowing what to write. You're just struggling and it causes a lot of anxiety. Even if you are not a learner who struggles, I think that can cause anxiety for some students. So what you might want to do to modify this, which is what I like, look at my high tech. Da 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 da. Look at that, they disappear. The lines disappear. Ah. Okay. So you could have it divided this way, where on this side, I'm going to work with another student and we're going to collaborate in pairs and talk about what we're going to write here. And those two, and then another pair of students on the other side are collaborating and maybe writing down and talking and working together. We're writing down our solutions together. Then we share. Okay, so we write together, and then we talk about it after, they talk about it after, and then we share as a pair with the other pair sitting across from us, our ideas and our possible solutions, and then we collaborate and write what we want to put in the middle for a final solution. So that's another way of thinking about this. You can also restructure it, excuse me, if you have a group of 3 people, you can structure it that way. There's lots of versions, I'm sure you can find them everywhere, and even a slightly different version than what I have down here, where it looks like this, and you can see it on the corners instead of in the middle. Lots of different ways of thinking about this. I love using this for writing tasks in mathematics, for journal writing, so getting kids to write their thinking, because a lot of times I find students are not used to writing in mathematics, and this provides a format for that. So if I'm writing here and other students are writing, after we share, not only do we get the ideas, each student gets it, but they can see how other students write, how they organize their thinking on the page, which I think can be really helpful. The other piece is, if I'm struggling a bit and I have some ideas down, but I'm not sure what to write, as a student, I get 3 other examples here. And then at the end of the whole lesson, each group will share their final answer in the middle. And so as a student, I get 3 different examples here. And let's say you have 6 or 7 groups of 4 in your class, the students are going to see 7 different other examples of ideas and writing as well. So that can be helpful. And then sometimes what I do, if I feel I want to use this to help students build their self-efficacy in writing in mathematics, after doing this, for using, again, what's the difference between triangle and square, or you could anything at all. I often sometimes use argumentation tasks, which I've done some research in, where you say, 10 plus 2 equals 15, true or false, and students have to explain why it's false and how it's false and that kind of thing. Then I have them go to their math journal and write. And you might think, well, they're just going to copy what other people have said and what they've heard. That's okay, because I'm focusing on getting them to feel comfortable writing in mathematics. So if they draw on what they've already heard or said, that's fine, because they're in their journals, they're writing individually and sort of summarizing some of the learning. So you could do that as well for this. So the sharing is really helpful, and sort of share different ways of doing, they're seeing different ways of doing mathematics and thinking about it and the organization of it. The other thing that I do with this is I say, okay, we're going to do this, but you can only use visuals. And that can challenge students a bit, but I feel that we often invite students to use visuals and to create visuals as part of their thinking and problem solving, but we don't teach them how to create effective visuals. That's just my opinion. And so by doing this, maybe it gets them to think about, how would I do this visually? And also for some of our ELLs, not all of our ELLs, because we don't want to paint our ELLs with one brush and say they all have the same characteristics, because they don't. That'll be another video perhaps. I feel very strongly about that. But if you have some ELLs, doing visuals might be more helpful and might be more inclusive way of engaging all learners. You know your learners, you know what works and what doesn't work, so you can modify the activities to be as inclusive. I've given you some ideas here of what might work for that. And again, I always say, the teachers I work with, you always know how to modify and change based on what works for your students. The other thing you can do with this is use manipulatives. Maybe you put this in the middle and say, create as many different shapes like this as possible using other shapes. So that might be one way of another activity, or you might put this in the middle like this and say create as many shapes as possible that have the same area as this shape. You might give as a task, represent 1/2 using different manipulatives, and they create the examples of 1/2, and then they include them in the middle. Lots of different ways of inviting students to share and collaborate, and then share their final answer as a group with everybody. So this is just a structure that builds in some accountability and allows me as a teacher to see what kinds of thinking took place. Just want to see if there's anything else. So you could do you could also do, and I think I talked about this and mentioned this, a problem, like a task. So they think about it, and then in the middle, and you can make this larger. I think this might be a little too small, but it's just one way of engaging students to work collaboratively and including writing and sharing. The most important piece, I think, is the sharing, when they go around and each person shares one idea and then they collaborate and share together. I often, this is just my way, you might do it differently, I don't allow a lot of time for the individual writing, because I don't want them to come up with necessarily a complete solution, but just jot down some ideas, because then that allows them to sort of build on each other's ideas that are not necessarily complete, and then formulate a final solution, or put in a list of ideas depending on the task that we provide students to do. So that is just one idea for my first video. I thank you so much for watching. Here it is again. We all pretend, look at the high tech. I did my sign. Took me a little while to do this, my friends. Hopefully this is helpful. This was Teaching Tidbits for Math with Dr. Kathy Marks-Kirpan. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to doing another one perhaps. So take care, be safe, and keep healthy.